citizen, hello and welcome, it's Myst. Once again, an unusual video on the channel. Here we are with the unboxing comparisons of Nintendo's new console just released, the Switch 2. You can notice the smaller packaging size, although if I remember correctly, the recent Switch and Switch OLED models have packaging closer to the one on the right. Here the models you are seeing are Day 1 editions. Without further ado, let's see what's inside. So here's the first generation Switch. It comes with a dock that allows the console to switch from portable to fixed mode, an AC adapter, a HDMI cable, two reed straps that attach to each Joy-Con, and the sort of dock here controller that holds the Joy-Cons to give you a real controller in your hands, the two Joy-Cons, and of course the console. Well, now let's see what this new Switch 2 has in store for us. Okay, I think we can say it's pretty much the same as the first Switch. Nothing new, except the power adapter is now in two pieces instead of one. Let's take a look at the differences between the various components. We start with the dock, which now has more round edges. It's gone from a rectangular block to something less angular, with smooth curves. The logo is still printed on the front. There is a small LED in the corner to indicate that the device is docked. You can also see the ventilation grill located underneath the console, which is kinda odd, since it's generally recommended not to block ventilation areas to prevent overheating. Oh, and I don't know if it's visible on the screen, but the Switch 2 dock contains some hardware components. It's not just a piece of plastic like its predecessor, allowing it to provide a slight boost to the console in docked mode. From the back, there are again quite a few differences. The previous system had a latch hanging on the console, whereas now it's a part that can completely detach. Not very practical. I definitely prefer the first dock system in this regard. As for the slot where you insert the console, there is not much to say, except that the kind of bars that used to scratch or damage the screen of the first Switch have disappeared. There are still two USB ports on the side. Overall, the new dock is larger and more bulky than the first one. Let's move on to the wrist straps. Similar to the previous one, there are two versions, one blue and one red. Unlike the first model, which had bigger buttons for SL/SR buttons, and a metal system to slide the Joy-Con in, these ones had just two pieces of hard plastic colored. Meh. They didn't put really much effort into this. I remember that the first version had a system to lock the rear strap onto the Joy-Con. Here it's pretty much the same thing, with a button that lets you unclip it. We quickly move past the dock here's controller, which are almost identical. The only differences are the removal of the borders and the metal rails, replaced by colored magnetic notches. All of this is still made of cheap plastic. Regarding the Joy-Con, we notice that they are bigger, with more prominent colored protrusions. The stick and buttons are also slightly bigger. The feel of the buttons has changed, with a softer stick and less firm buttons. The top buttons are no longer separated by the small grave strip, but are now side by side. As for the shoulder buttons, I think it's quite obvious. They finally have a proper size. An additional small notch has appeared, allowing the Joy-Con to be transformed into a mouse. The previous slide system unique to the console, with its characteristic, it's gone. Now it's a snap-in system. The magnets hold quite well, but be careful not to force too much. Also, if you are young, avoid fleeing too much with a connector to prevent breaking it. To disconnect the Joy-Con, there is now a trigger to activate instead of a button. Personally, I don't find this trigger very practical, since my fingers tend to press them when I play. We finish with the console, which is clearly larger, as you can see. In terms of ports, it's pretty much the same as before, except for a few extra vents, a microphone slot, and 2 USB-C ports instead of 1. The shitty plastic support at the back of the console, broken by many people, has been replaced by a longer metal support, with different tilt angles. Much better. There is still a slot for a micro SD card. The console itself comes with 250 GB of storage. Note that these are now micro SD Express cards. Your old micro SD cards won't be compatible with this new model. Additionally, if you transfer your data from one console to another, it will automatically be erased from the original console with no option to duplicate. The game cartridges are strictly the same, except for the prominent red color on this version too. The latch has also been upgraded, now with a metal part. The console has a new button called Game Chat. This feature allows you to communicate online only with people on your friends list. We conclude this overview with a few games. I have captured some gameplay to show you the improvements made by this Switch 2. We'll start with New Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe. Not much to say, except that the colors are less vibrant than on the first Switch. Loading times are faster. In short, nothing extraordinary. Next up is Red Dead Redemption. Similar to New Super Mario, loading times are also shortened. The colors are less flashy, with a kind of greyish filter on the Switch 2. An atmospheric volumetric effect, I imagine. Moving on to Mario Odyssey. and here there are noticeable changes. Some textures are less blurry. You can particularly see this on the Velcro floor texture. It's not a huge leap, but it's already better than the previous two games. Lastly, we have TOTK in its standard version versus the Switch 2 edition, a paid patch. Again, we see changes. Once more, the contrast is less pronounced and the resolution is higher, resulting in fewer pixelated areas.
We've been descending for a while now. These tunnels are deeper than I thought. What could be down here? People have been falling ill after coming into contact with the wind drifting through these caverns. Though here it seems almost misty, not concentrated enough stars. We'll keep going. With it coming up from the castle.
This is quite noticeable in handheld mode, where the game shifts from a pixelated, somewhat jerky version to a smoother, prettier one. If you haven't played this game yet, I highly recommend this version to enjoy the game in the best conditions. For others, I suggest passing, unless you are a big fan. Summary of this Switch 2, I'd say it's more of an improvement than a real evolution. Nintendo basically took their whole console and tweaked it step by step. No big new features. Even the dashboard looks pretty much the same as the original Switch. About the screen, I haven't really noticed any major visual difference, despite the HDR. Honestly, I think I prefer the bright, flashy colors of the first Switch. The battery life is pretty inconsistent, depending on what games you are playing. Additionally, the console seems to get quite hot when docked. Anyway, am I disappointed of my purchase? No. I'd say I'm more on the fence for now. The console looks promising, sure, but it still needs to prove itself. Will I recommend you jump in right now? No. The console is clearly not essential at the moment. I suggest waiting for more games or holding off until the holiday season. That's all I have to say about the Switch 2. It was Myst. Ciao!